All right, we're back. Amber's here.
Hi.
Yeah, it's a totally different day.
Yes.
You're wearing a totally different outfit.
I am.
Suspension of disbelief. All right, so we shot the Proust test.
We did.
And you have another test for me.
These are just like questions.
Okay.
I think the world is dying to know. I know I'm dying to know.
Well, okay. Then you get to know me a little bit better.
Yeah.
I mean, we've known each other since we were kids, but, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm always finding out more about you. Like, this is how the way I wrote down these questions was because I asked a question and it was about A League of Their Own.
Yes.
I think I was talking to some youth who didn't know the reference.
So you called...
There's no crying in baseball.
Yeah, you called me after we had filmed.
Yes.
And you just randomly called me, and I was at home, and we were talking about what we shot, and we were talking about like I said, oh, well, this is based on this and this, and I was making literary references, and I felt like you felt I didn't know how to read. You know.
No, it wasn't that. It was just that we're talking about, you know, your movies, which are
schlocky.
They're schlocky. And then you said something like, oh, you know, she's such a Lilith type character.
Yeah.
And then you made these other references that were even
the
beyond
Iliad was in there and stuff like that.
I mean,
but I mean, it felt like you were like, oh.
I was just like, why
don't you
show this side of yourself? You know,
people know that I'm well versed.
I don't think. Do people know on your YouTube channel that you're well versed?
Well, I've done.
Do they know that side of you?
Yeah, I mean, I.
Do you know that side?
They might not. They might just be like, this is just some fucking dude who likes to look at like topless girls and monsters, which I love doing. But
who doesn't?
Exactly. But growing up, I was very into. You know, we grew up before the internet.
We did.
You know, so there was not just movies, but books and music and all this kind of stuff. And it's the shadow in the cave.
Shadow in the cave.
You know the shadow in the cave?
No.
There's a flickering light and there's a wolf outside or something outside, and it's bigger because it's being reflected, and that's our perception of reality. We form our own perceptions based on our surroundings and what we take in. You know?
What, the shadow in the cave, is that like a reference from something?
No, it's like a thing. It was like ancient Greek thing, you know?
And then you make up a story about it.
No, you don't make up a story. It's just you see that thing outside.
Yeah.
You don't know what it is. You never leave the cave. But you're under the impression that this thing is out there, and it's much bigger because of the reflection from the light and all that kind of stuff. So it's about everything that I've taken in when it comes to books and music and movies and all this kind of stuff, art. It's just a matter of changing my perception so I don't have that South Jersey forever kind of vibe. You know, you can
South Jersey forever.
Well, I love South Jersey, but I'm just saying, like, there's some people who are just content, and I've never been content, and I like the idea of, you know, expanding my horizons, and yes, I love trash. Look around, it's all trashy stuff, you know?
Yes.
But, I don't know, I like the idea, intellectual curiosity, let's call it that.
Intellectual curiosity?
People have told me I'm smart.
Who, your mom?
No, she doesn't talk to me.
Anne-Marie doesn't talk to you?
She does, sometimes.
Did she call you on your birthday?
Yes.
Newt just had a birthday.
I did. Well, I mean, coming up on a month ago, but, you know.
That's pretty recent. How old are you now, Newt?
43.
Here we go, first question.
All right.
Newt's 43. How do you feel about being 43? Do you feel 43?
I don't. I feel like you just look around. I'm in a state of arrested development in a lot of things.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, it doesn't feel like we graduated high school that long ago, but it was.
It was 20 years ago. It was half our lives.
Yeah.
I was actually at the farmer's market, and these youths, they were like 18 and 16. They were like, oh my God, I love your hat. And I was like, I had gotten this hat when I was 19 years old.
Yeah.
And that's what I told them. And I'm like, so I've had this hat for 20 years. And then I'm walking away, and I'm like, oh my God, I've had this hat longer than these children have been alive on planet Earth. It's
crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I was talking to one of the kids who works for me, and he looks like a ventriloquist dummy came to life. I was talking about something, and he's like, I've never heard of that before. And it was something I thought that like everyone knew. And I was like, what the fuck? Do we not need that anymore? Like, is that not a thing anymore?
Guess not.
I guess, yeah.
Oh man, we sound so old. Okay,
all right.
So we're talking about A League of Their Own, and then Newt tells me that he watches A League of Their Own
once a year.
Like it's an annual thing for him.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, duh, movie maker. There's probably other movies that you watch once a year. So what movies do you watch once a year or regularly?
Ed Wood.
Okay.
The documentary American Movie.
I don't know that one.
It's made in the late 90s. It was following this guy, Mark Borchardt, in Green Bay, who was trying to make a movie called Coven. And it's just following these weird white trash outsider artists. And he says, this isn't a smart guy.
Mm-mm.
You know, it's a guy who grew up on Texas Chainsaw Massacre and vodka and Texas, you know, and Dawn of the Dead and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He wants to be a filmmaker because he thinks it's going to bring him riches and money and all this kind of stuff.
Okay.
But really what it is there's an indelible drive for creativity no matter what the outlet is. Mm-hmm. So it gets me every time. And then there's things that he says in it that I relate to. Like he says, like, I'm 30 something years old and I got to go clean shit out of a toilet because that's my job as I'm trying to make a movie and stuff like that. And that's me, you know? It's like realizing how much older you've become than when you started doing this. And the idea of, you know, it's just the idea of the things that you have to do so that you can indulge.
Sure.
And the only thing I indulge in is these creative outlets, you know? I should have just got addicted to drugs.
Yeah. Drugs are more fun.
That's what I heard, yeah.
So, all right, so we've heard about why the documentary American Movie resonates with you, but why Ed Wood?
Just since I was a little kid, I saw Plan 9 from Outer Space on a TV in Albany, New York. It was a midnight movie. We were visiting my stepdad's family. I was little kid. Jim, yeah. That's funny you remember that.
I know Jim. And Marie.
So, yeah, there's just that image of Tor Johnson and Vampira in the graveyard, and there was something so surreal and off about it that it triggered something in my brain that, like, this is special, but I don't know why this is special. And then when the Johnny Depp movie came out, which I have all 5 versions of the poster, when the Johnny Depp movie came out, I was able to get Nightmare of Ecstasy, which is the book that the movie was based on, and I just realized as I grew up that I was like him in a lot of ways. Not an alcoholic, not a cross-dresser. Although, no, I did cross-dress for this channel on Halloween 2 years ago. But just the idea of somebody who collects strays and takes the people on the outside who nobody else wants and puts them to work on your thing.
Am I a stray?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you have your own thing. You do improv and all that kind of stuff. But, like, when it comes to, like, this world, you're an outsider. And for you to come in and then fit in with what we do, that's why I love that movie, you know? And the indelible spirit, too, of just, like, nobody wants this, but I'm still going to do it, you know? Yeah.
Nobody wants this, but I'm still going to do it.
No one's asking for no one's asking for Amityville Pool Toy Massacre.
I love that. And this is special, but I don't know why this is special.
Yeah, like, you ever see something and you're just like, again, I don't know what this is, but it means something.
Yeah, and I feel like it's a very kid thing.
Yeah.
You know, like, I have a kid, she's 5, and sometimes I can see that. Like, she knows it means something, but she doesn't know what it means, but it's...
And I was probably 4 or 5 when I saw this as well, and it's one of those...
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
No, for sure.
Planet what?
Plan 9 from Outer Space. It's a black and white movie. It's from the late 50s. There's nothing bad about it. It's a science fiction movie. It's harmless.
Who took you to see this movie when you were 4?
No, it was on TV.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
We had Prism growing up.
Prism?
Prism was like Philadelphia's HBO.
Okay.
The Phillies, the Flyers, the 76ers used to be on it. You had to pay for the service. But late at night, when my parents were sleeping, I would sneak downstairs and watch Friday the 13th Part 5 or the Emmanuel series, which was like softcore pornography. And I was a little kid, and I was just like, in just all these things were like, you know, swirling around.
So nobody was...
Oh,
nobody was monitoring
They were way asleep at the wheel.
It was the 90s.
It was the 80s. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Everyone was on cocaine and voting for Ronald Reagan. I don't know.
Right. So you watch A League of Their Own?
Yes.
And then I remember asking this question, when? Like, when do you watch it?
Summer.
Summer?
Yeah. Usually around the start of the baseball season.
Okay.
It's my favorite baseball movie.
It's a great one.
Yeah, and the thing that gravitated me towards that movie was that I love that it's a sports movie, but it's also a hangout movie where you get to know each individual character. Like, I put it in there with, like, The Big Lebowski or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, or just movies like that where people are hanging out and you're getting to know them through that, interspliced with the action of it all.
So in these movies, or at least in A League of Their Own, like you said, it's a hangout movie. You get to know the characters. Do you find that you write movies where you get to know the characters in that way? I
might write way more dialogue than anything else, because there's something that'll probably wind up in your writing section of this as well. I don't do drugs, so I get a high off coming up with an idea that I feel is strong enough to follow through with it. Mm-hmm. Usually I see the ending of something and the poster first, and then I work backwards from there.
Okay.
But I don't know, I love the idea of coming with an idea, writing it down, and then getting to the point where your friends are now saying the things that you plucked out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Did you watch Get Back, the Beatles documentary? Mm-hmm. So Paul McCartney's sitting there, literally writes Get Back out of thin air. Mm-hmm. He's playing, he just starts putting it together, and you're literally watching a genius at work. Like, it's crazy to think something like Prince or Stanley Kubrick, something like that, something so nebulous, you start to shape it in just your head, and then it becomes this thing that now we all know and enjoy, and there's something amazing about that. It's like you used to work at Color Me Mine.
I did.
Yeah. Which was like a place where you could like make stuff out of a kiln. Yeah. And I still have the bowl that you made me.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I don't know where it is, but I still have it. But it's just, you made something with your hands. And, even typing is that. I get a high from that when you hear people saying the things that you wrote and stuff. So
totally.
Yeah. I'm not good at it, but I do it.
Are there any other movies that you make, that you watch regularly, even if it's not every single year?
I probably revisit Star Wars, the original 3, at least once a year.
Okay.
I don't know. What are some other? I don't know. It's always just like whatever tickles my fancy at that time. I'll be thinking about something and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna watch that again. I was hankering for watching Star Trek 6 the other day.
Okay.
And I was just like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna watch Star Trek 6.
I don't know if I would know that one. I have here too that you really like Oliver Stone's The Doors.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
Just because of the psychedelic phantasmagorical aspect of it, it was telling a story like he was a myth instead of a human.
Okay.
And there's something really cool about that with all the shaman and all that kind of stuff. I love that kind of, it's an unreliable narrator kind of thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Are there any movie quotes?
Oh God.
I mean, I know.
Yeah,
it's a can of worms.
I talk in movie quotes. There's not a day where I'm not quoting The Simpsons or a musical line or something like that.
A musical line?
Yeah, like a lyric from a song or something
like
that.
Okay.
I was at the bank the other day, which is up the street here, and I was getting changed to the theater, and Love is a Battlefield came on.
Come on.
And I was like, said to the lady, it's like, something I learned from that video?
What?
You can't dance your way out of being a prostitute.
You can't.
Yep.
You could dance your way into it, though.
That's how I got it.
Definitely dance your way into it.
Mm-hmm.
We do know that.
Yep.
Okay, movie quotes. Probably, maybe that's a whole nother.
That's a whole nother
video.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're gonna get into that some other time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So soundtracks. Are there favorite soundtracks?
Oh yeah.
You're just the soundtrack too.
When it comes to score, any of the Ennio Morricone stuff that was done for the spaghetti westerns. Okay. The Few More Dollars soundtracks. Conan the Barbarian is one of the greatest soundtracks ever written. Danny Elfman's score for Batman Returns, because it's so operatic and it feels like a German expressionist, film.
A German expressionist film?
Yeah,
name a German expressionist film for us.
Okay, Nosferatu.
Okay.
Directed by F.W. Murnau.
Okay.
The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
I've seen that one too.
Yeah.
I went to college.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, that's the kind of stuff that, just the idea of the off-kilteredness of it all, and the Germans before World War II, there was this peak of art at that time, and they were revolutionizing cinema at that time, and then Goebbels came in and made it all into propaganda.
Interesting.
Yeah, yep. That's why, did you know why in movies that were made in Italy that every actor does the Tower of Babel. You know what that is?
Mm-mm.
Every actor speaks their own language because they weren't allowed to record audio because they were still under a regime that was very strict when it came to the arts, and they didn't want anything that was speaking ill of them. So every actor, you would have American, like, look at these posters here. These are all Italian movie posters.
Oh, okay.
And the coolest thing about it was, like, you'd have British stars, American stars, Spanish, because a lot of them were co-productions of Italy and Spain. So they would all be speaking their own languages during the movie, and then they would just dub it back after that. That's why if you watch any of these Italian movies, you'll always hear Edward Mannix's voice, who's just like, you'll pick up on certain guys always get used in their thing. So you hear that voice coming out of, like, so many different characters if you watch these movies long enough. So
it's so fascinating because right now one of the things that I'm working on is a bilingual improv group, and we're really trying to focus on when we get to a point where we can't, like, I speak French but, like, not super well. So just being like my coworkers or my cohort being like, then just switch to English. And so we're speaking our own languages. That's really cool.
But
Tower of Babel.
Yeah, so they call that. Or like in Inglourious Bastards. I'm going to switch to English now because they know the other people in the room can't speak it. You know, and I thought that was really cool how, again, that's one of those things, like, how does a mind work like that, where you start, like, going, like, we're going to play with the different languages that we're all part of that access at that point. And it's like, that's genius, you know?
Yeah. All right, any other favorite soundtracks? I mean, I know there's probably a billion. We'll probably do another video on that.
The original Crow.
Original Crow.
Yeah, 94 is The Crow. Actually, and City of Angels. Those two albums kind of encapsulate...
City of Angels. I'm sorry, what?
The Crow, City of Angels, the second one.
Oh, the second one. Okay.
You know, because that has Hole doing Gold Dust Woman from Fleetwood Mac, and it has
I do like Hole.
Rob Zombie doing Boogeyman by I can't think of it. I'll think of it later. But those soundtracks are so me growing up being into industrial music and metal music and like somebody like PJ Harvey. That's how I discovered PJ Harvey on that. You know, so those were really big soundtracks that I listened to a lot when I was growing up. Yeah.
Well, speaking of the music bug in you, on your Instagram lately, you've been posting a lot of music
and you were like,
videos.
"Are you okay?"
Yeah, I was like, what's up with that? What's with all the music?
I don't know. They come up, and I just love to show. I'll hear something I haven't heard in a long time. Like, oh my god! And I still know all the lyrics to it. Yeah. You know, because again, we used to drive, like, my mom. Oh, my Wolfman. We used to drive. We're sitting in the back seat while our parents are driving, and you hear these songs over and over again, and they kind of stick with you. You know, so I don't know. I just like to show also that I'm eclectic. You know, I love all...
You want people to know that you're eclectic.
Yeah, I mean, and just, I don't know. It's like, pat me on the back. Tell me I'm good and smart.
They're good posts.
Yeah, you know, just different stuff.
They are really good posts. It's actually kind of a breath of fresh air to see somebody post that type of stuff instead of like, la, what am I doing?
Politics and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, you know.
All right, I have this note here, the opposite of Newt. I don't actually remember what I meant by that.
I assumed you meant that, like, what is my, like, inverse, like the yin to my yang?
Sure. What's the yin to your yang?
I'm... Her name was, no. I don't know, like, I'm so not... I don't know, there's a lot of things I'm not. I'm not like a Chad. I'm not like...
You're not a Chad.
Yeah, I don't know.
TBD.
Yeah, but...
No, he's not a Chad.
No, a fuckboy, you know. I don't know, I'm not anything. I'm myself. Like, and I can't... There's so many different versions of people that you'd see that, like, fit into certain boxes. And again, like the eclectic version of it, I never want you to pin down who I am and what I'm doing. Like, I want to always kind of try to reinvent what people's perception of me is, you know?
Can't be pinned down.
No, yep.
Reinvent perceptions.
Yeah, I'll be like the Thin White Duke era of David Bowie or something like that, you know?
All right, Newt. How do you see yourself?
Poorly?
Seriously?
Yeah, I am hyper aware of all of my shortcomings.
What are your shortcomings?
Well, I'm short.
You are short.
Yeah. I think they...
How short is he?
5'5".
You're not 5'5".
Yeah, I am.
I'm 5'5".
I'm as tall as you are. No, there's a lot of things. The other video we did kind of expanded on that a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, the last 3 years have been very hard, and I've had to face a lot of my previous mistakes, and a lot of that comes from childhood trauma and stuff like that. But I see myself kind of more through the eyes of how the people who dislike me the most see me.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta work on that in therapy. Okay, which leads us to our next question.
Yeah.
How do others see you?
I think people who like me see me as a creative or funny person.
I think so.
Yeah.
Creative and funny.
Mm-hmm.
How would you ideally like to be? Ideally.
I don't need to be loved. I'd like to be loved.
Everybody needs to be loved.
Yeah, yep.
So that ideally you would to be loved?
Yeah, I would like to be, you know.
All right.
Yeah. Even if that's by, like, you know, it's the Muppet song. If just one person believes in you, deep enough and strong enough, believes in you, and then the next person will believe in you, and next thing you know, it's a whole bunch of people, and it's Robin, the little frog, singing it. That's always been one of my favorite things.
I believe in you.
Yeah.
I believe in you, buddy. And then how do you think you actually are? So you have how do you see yourself, how others see you, how would you like to be ideally, but how do you think you actually are?
I'm an overcompensator.
Overcompensator.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Which is funny. I have really low self-esteem for a guy who's been told he has a big dick.
You're always gonna find a way to drop that in there. I feel like you could have waited for there might be a
That's right. We'll
moment.
get into it more.
Yeah. Great. All right. So one thing about Newt, which you might not know, is Newt is a very good gift giver.
I am.
He's a really good gift giver. Gives thoughtful gifts. What up with that? Why are you such a good gift giver?
Well, what did you say to me when we were driving? You said, "Why do you remember everything?"
Why do you remember everything?
I retain.
What the fuck is that about?
I retain all these things, and then I try to go like, "Oh, this is something that they talked about, and it would be a sentimental thing," or "This is something they like." It's always a matter of just like storing things in the computer that you can use later, so that it feels like, "Oh, this is a person who listens to me."
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than, you know, talking and you're just talking at people because they're not actually engaged in the conversation.
Yeah, that's really nice. That the way, so it's like the way you want to make people feel is like they're listened to.
Yep.
That's a lovely way to want to make people feel.
Yeah,
you know? That's really nice.
Lana's another friend of mine. She's been on the channel a lot with her husband Dave. And she said the same thing. She's like, "You're so like, how do you remember these things and how to give these gifts?" I was like, "I don't know. It's just something I did growing up, you know."
It's really nice.
Yeah.
What kind of gifts would you like to receive?
I would assume the same. I would just assume people who actually like know me enough to know what I would or wouldn't like. You know,
people would pay attention.
Yeah, pay attention. But honestly, like actual friendship. Not people who want something out of me or something like that. That's the thing I want the most.
So you want friendship? Would you say you want people to like spend time with you?
Yeah, or just like for people for it to be real, for it not to be because you think I'm going to put you in a movie or you think I can introduce you to.
That's why I'm friends with you.
Well, I knew that. Yeah, I knew that. Back in 2001 when I wasn't doing any of this stuff, you know. You're like in 20-something years, this guy.
It's an investment.
It's a long
It's
con.
a long-term investment. Yeah, okay. You're very talkative, but you're also a pretty good listener. Is there a question here?
I don't know, but please, praise me more.
All right, I guess I'll just read it. I wrote talkative, but also a good listener. I think that talking a lot is actually an act of generosity. And I know not a lot of people would say that, but I have learned about myself over the years that I'm a talkative person.
Yeah.
And that means if I come into a conversation and I talk a lot, you now have permission to talk a lot. Because guess what? Nobody's talking more than me.
Yeah.
You are never going to be more chatty than me.
I don't
know. You might be.
But that's the thing that kind of attracted me to you in the first place was that you were the only person who I felt, and to this day, the only person I felt can like match me wit wise.
Which, ooh.
Yeah, like you,
Ooh.
you know, where you got my sense of humor, and then you were able to throw it back at me, and we were able to play ping pong with it.
I love ping pong.
Yeah, so
I love ping pong.
that's something. But I've always liked your talkativeness. I do it sometimes because of sheer nervousness, and again, I don't like making eye contact with people sometimes.
Really?
Well, you want
why?
You know what I look like, you know. But for most people, I don't want. I have this thing. I don't like them looking at me, you know.
Yeah.
So I tend to fill the empty space with talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like it when people look at me when I eat. Like, stop looking at me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, fucking pay attention to yourself. Yeah, I think that the generosity of spirit that you have, and it's almost like maybe there's things about yourself that you couldn't repress even if you wanted to.
No.
Like that you are gonna like crack jokes. But that can be really generous because again, then other people have the freedom to make a corny joke.
Yeah.
Nobody's telling more jokes than you.
And nobody's going to make more corny jokes than me, you know?
That's true.
I love puns.
And I also think it's a display of generosity because I think that you can only be as interested in other people as you are interested in yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you find yourself fascinating or you're curious about your own mind and then it makes you explore and have a process of exploring that, you're also interested in others.
Yeah, one of the things that is so missing in society now is just the idea of people exploring each other in that, not like, you know, like exploring each other, but like you could put two people at polar opposites in a room and eventually they'll find something that they can relate to.
Sure.
You know, so like, do you ever see American History X?
Yeah.
Once. You know, Edward Norton's his character is a white supremacist. They put him with this black guy. They bond over the Boston Celtics. You know, and that's the whole thing. Is like I tend to disarm people in the beginning with something that's like offensive or like a dark joke, and if they stick around, I don't know. It's a character flaw. But if they stick around, then you can start to poke and prod them in the conversation and start to learn more about them that you can use later against them. No, I have a contingency plan to take down all of you. No, I love getting to know people and like you find through, because again, my car was destroyed. I had to take Ubers to work. I had this Pakistani woman who was an Uber driver, and she and I had this amazing conversation about the Quran on the drive up there and stuff like that. And she was shocked that I knew as much as I knew about the Muslim faith and all that kind of stuff.
Why do you know about the Quran?
Because when I was in high school, you were very religious.
I was, yes.
I have not believed in a higher power since I was a child when the thing happened to me that happened to me. You know, because it's like Rorschach. It's like God didn't seem to mind. You know?
Yeah.
So that was when I went, all right, we're all, you know, Nietzsche said that, you know, our it's not coming from here. Whatever's going to save us has to come from somewhere else because we can't save ourselves. So, yeah, so I wanted to, I read the Bible, I read the Torah, I read the Quran, because I wanted to know, like, what I was rebelling against. You know, not rebelling, but because I would never speak ill of someone else's religion. Whatever you want to believe is fine. But, like, I want to know I want to understand where they're coming from, you know? Yeah.
I feel that's another display of how interested you are in others.
I hate people, but I love conversation.
Me too. But I also like people, though.
No, I don't.
What is it that you want to share?
Storytelling.
I like it.
Yeah.
Obviously. Storytelling. How do you consume content?
With my mouth.
Yep.
No, everything's streaming now, you know.
All right.
I still love watching movies in the movie theater. Obviously, I run a movie theater. But, I don't know. It's mostly just...
But, like, how? Like, are you by yourself? Do you get a group of friends together?
Sometimes. Well, like, if it's a theater experience, yes. If it comes to just watching a movie... I haven't been invited to anyone's house in like the last 3 years.
I invited you to my house.
I know. Yeah.
You gotta get a car first.
I gotta get a car first. But no, I tend to watch things by myself because then it's like, I like audio wallpaper, you know, where it could be playing in the background as you're doing other things.
What a great expression. Is
Yeah.
that, did you make that up?
No, I've heard it somewhere else.
Audio wallpaper.
Yeah.
I also like audio wallpaper.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to do, my audio wallpaper is often French movies, so
Okay.
I have that in the background.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So the genre that you mainly write scripts for is
Horror.
horror. Why?
They're the easiest to get produced and distributed.
Is that seriously the reason why?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's very practical. Wasn't expecting that
I
answer.
mean,
Was expecting a little something more romantic.
Well, no, I mean, there is a lot of other things, but like Sam Raimi, who did, Spider-Man, he started out with The Evil Dead, which is I showed you The Evil Dead, one of my favorite movies of all time, because they knew that the only way they were going to get the foot in the door was to make a horror movie, because people will buy that,
This is so fucking interesting, because, Shakespeare's first play is also Shakespeare's bloodiest play.
Yes, yep.
Do you know what it is?
Uh,
It's Titus Andronicus.
Okay, I wouldn't have gotten that.
And that makes a ton of sense,
Yeah.
right? It's like, how do you capture people's attention? I mean, with something that is jarring.
Yeah, I mean,
guess.
our watching horror goes back to, the Colosseum.
Okay.
It goes back to feeding Christians to the lions, It goes
Sure.
back to the Grand Guignol of France on the stage and stuff like that. People...
Say it again on France.
The
What?
Grand Guignol.
The Grand Guignol?
Yeah.
What?
It's, it was on stage, like, theatrical. It wasn't real. It was on stage bloodletting. It was decapitations and guttings and stuff like that. And it was all done by theater teams, but it was always this, it was always like letting people see something perverse or see something macabre, and then like a horror movie now,
But in a controlled way.
in a controlled way. Yeah, nobody was getting their heads cut off.
Right.
The whole reason we go, that we go into these movies is we can confront death, but we get to walk out.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
and like in a really simple way, it's like telling ghost stories around a
Yeah,
campfire,
yep,
right?
mhm.
Oh, that's
which
so
goes
interesting.
back to like that's the basic humans. It's tribal,
Yeah, and for me, like I really like horror movies. They're so bloody.
Yeah.
I think comedy is more.
But comedy's the hardest because it's so subjective.
Yeah.
Because I write horror comedies.
Yeah.
But like, what you might be super into slapstick, and I'm into British dry, and those two things never, the twixt never between them.
Those two things shall never meet.
Mm-hmm.
If you could write another, maybe should I save my writing questions?
Go ahead, come on, yeah.
If you were gonna write something else, what would the genre of the story be? I mean, I'm sure you have written things.
Oh yeah, no,
If you could get something produced tomorrow.
Yeah, man, I'd love to write like an 80s style kids movie.
Oh my god!
Because those were the movies that shaped my perception of adventure.
Yes, oh my god, so it's so funny you say that, because I was just thinking of the Goonies this
Yes.
morning.
Mm-hmm.
Because I realized...
I mean, I've got the Monster Squad poster right there,
And then if I was gonna be in a Goonies movie, I'd be the mom.
Yeah.
Or like the villain, like,
I wrote this arcade movie for these producers. There was this urban legend called Polybius that was supposed to be this video game in the 80s that when people played it, it caused madness. And the urban legend is that the CIA was doing mind control on people as part of, like, you know what Operation Paperclip is?
No.
Or MK Ultra?
Sure.
Basically after World War II, the Americans saw how far Germany had made it into space travel. Like, they were way ahead of us on rockets and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we basically took a bunch of Nazis, brought them here, gave them new identities, and put them to work for our space program and all these other weapons and all this kind of stuff. And they called it Operation Paperclip. It was supposed to be this big secret that was declassified. And then MK Ultra was the same thing. There was the Tunguska, or not Tunguska, that's the Tunguska Blast. There was like this community of African American people. They gave syphilis to all the men to see what would happen.
Nice.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But these are all like the shady things that our government had done. But yeah, so I wrote this script for these, and the three guys who work at this arcade come up and they're like, "Why are you here?" And it's like, "Oh, this thing's here. We're in our 40s now. We never got to have our Goonies-like adventure."
Yeah.
And then the one kid's like, "I went to math camp." And he's like, "See, motherfucker went to math camp."
I was hanging out in a parking lot of a Wawa.
Yeah.
It's not as adventurous as I got.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and the other reason I was thinking about the Goonies is because I find that there is like 2 words that I really need to stop saying, and one is girls.
Yeah.
Like I went out with some ladies, and it was like, oh, but we're having a girls' night. Like
Yeah.
I'm 41, I am no longer a girl. My girl days are gone. And then the other one is guys.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys. Hey, you guys.
Yeah, but guys I use guys for everyone.
Me too.
Yeah.
So I'm like, as a writer, I'm going to put you on a mission. We need to come up with better words for girls because women and ladies, I don't know, it sounds patronizing.
Well, we created a word in the last video.
What was it?
Fuck drunk.
We did. That's what I'm saying. You've got the writer's chops.
Holes and poles.
Holes and what?
Holes and poles.
Let's keep working on it.
We'll workshop it.
Yeah. Expression. What are you processing or working out with writing right now? Anything?
I just turned in a script last night.
Hey.
I started writing it in 2017. It was a completely different thing. Did another draft in 2022, and then to get it made, somebody else has a completely different concept for it. So I had to basically take it back to page 1, but try to retain as much of the things that I wanted in it. Is the one that I want you to do, where it's the women, the cleaning crew, because I want to do.
He just wants to see me with a mop in my hand.
That's true.
Rude.
No, I want to do this single moms thing. I want to do I want to show that they have strength and all that kind of stuff. Because I was raised by a single mother, and while my mom made a lot of mistakes, I do also understand the sacrifice that goes into that, and that people look at certain people, certain genders, sexual orientations, colors of their skin as less than. So I want to show these women being powerful without needing to do what I usually do, which is tits and ass. You know.
Sure.
Yeah.
I really like that too because it's like not being strong as a single mom in this like showing the single mom struggle because it's like the character might be a single mom, but you're not necessarily seeing her like
that's just
like spit up all over her.
That's just
it's
part. It's with anybody. If anybody somebody's into CrossFit, that's all they talk about.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Or if dudes have a beard, that's the only thing that you should have more than one trait. You know, so I think that being a single mother or whatever the situation is, or somebody who's getting off of drugs, or somebody who's getting out of sex work or something like that, that's a part of what shapes them. But that's the acorn, and then it grows out from there, and they become a character.
Totally. Yeah. I also feel like that's kind of what we're doing here. We're letting people see a little bit more of you, a little more serious stuff. You got other things going on.
But I wrote 86 pages in the last 13 days. Turned it in last night. Now I wait for notes.
All right, Newt. So I got a question for you.
Yes.
This might be. I don't even know if you're gonna be able to answer it properly, but Newt, you seem to get some beautiful ladies. How do you do it? How do you do it? What do they see in you?
I don't know. What did you see in me?
I was young. We were young. We were in college.
Yeah.
18,
but we knew
19.
each other in high school too.
We did.
So I don't know. I once people get past the exterior,
how do you pull it off?
I don't know. I wish I knew, because I would do it again. I don't know. I think I'm fairly interesting, and like you said, I'm a good listener. I have a good heart.
Yeah.
And maybe some of them more recently have just wanted to be involved in film, and they knew that I was a stepping stone to that.
Oh man.
So that's part of it as well. And I'm fairly proficient in the bedroom, so or the backseat of a car or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't get laid till I was 22.
Hey.
So I treat
late bloomer.
Yeah, I treat every time as if my last time. So
that's your motto.
I treat every time.
I treat every time as if my last.
But then I'm like a fat kid eating cake after that. I.
Oh, Jesus.
Want water or something?
I'm fine.
I don't know. Because again,
I treat every time as my last time.
Yeah, and that's how it's been.
Motto,
yeah.
Oh man, I'm gonna type that out. I treat every time like it's the last time. And you know what? That's words to live by.
Yeah.
Because you don't ever know.
No.
So Newt, would you call yourself a workaholic?
Yes.
Why? What's up with that?
I need to be doing something so I don't fall prey to depression.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's fun. It's a fun answer. Keep yourself busy.
Yeah, I do. I need to keep my mind occupied. And I also feel like, when it comes to work now and stuff like that, I would rather just go and do it myself so I don't have to clean up somebody else's mess who can't do it properly.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
Have a little trouble absolving yourself of the power?
Yes. No, it's a matter of, I don't know. I'm a hard worker, and because, you never know if you're going to run into financial problems, or you never know if friends are going to run into financial problems and that you can help them and stuff like that. So I'm always trying to stay ahead of the curve, Yeah.
Do you have a movie that you think would be, this is different than a favorite,
Mm-hmm.
do you have a movie that you're like, this is a perfect movie?
I think The Shawshank Redemption is a perfect movie.
Shawshank.
I think it's the greatest American film ever made.
All right.
Yeah. Because you said